Looking for a couple of laughs? These two have you covered. Welcome to Aaron and Zach's Better Than Mediocre Rafting Show.
Are we there? All right,
Hey,
man. I'm already messed up. Last week went so smooth, I got a little cocky. Welcome to Zach and Aaron's Mediocre Video Review Show with Aaron and Steve. Steve, thanks for joining us again. Yeah, Zach is off somewhere in the middle of the U.S., traveling around again. So I know he was hoping to be back, but I know he will be back next week. Steve, how's it going today?
Good. Glad to be here. Greetings from California.
Nice. Yeah. Greetings.
I think I'm halfway between you and wherever Zach is right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
he's in Missouri, last I heard.
Yeah, me too. So you want to hop in and we'll just start with this first. Zach actually sent us this video to share. We can hop into the, if I haven't said so already, make sure you like the show, share, do all those cool things. And Zach wants as many followers. He's hoping to get more followers for the show, so he would appreciate it if people follow.
I get paid by the number of followers that subscribe during the show, so it's for you.
You get paid, man. I don't get anything.
I just get 7 cents per new subscriber.
I get offers of stuff. So here we go. So this is what. Oh no, wrong one. Dang it.
That one is insane though, and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about it at some point.
Yeah, I messed up. I thought it was. Yeah, let me try this again. Yeah, we might get to that one too. So I'm really starting off on the worst foot here. So let's try this one more time. Share. Yeah, since it's in Russian, it makes it a little harder for me to know the title that I'm looking for. There we go. So here we go. So ready? We'll give this a whirl here. Okay. You can see it, right, Steve?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's a little jumpy.
Is it?
Yeah, but I watched this earlier and I found it really interesting, really educational. Like, saw some good things in here that were fun to look at.
They're really good at holding their positions in the boat. That's impressive.
Yeah, and they all how many GoPros there are in that picture. There's at least 3.
Yeah, guides back in the boat. They're throwing a throw bag. They've all got high float life jackets on. Yeah, that's a nice little rescue there. I mean, that was quick. You want to watch it again? And I mean, what in particular did you? I mean, I'm just going to say I'm first impressed with their paddling down here. Like these, like professional paddlers, the way they're all paddling together and how aggressive they're paddling and how they all facilitate in the rescue. Just like here, this first drop, like they get thrown. I think on this.
The second drop.
Yeah, like that when they get thrown, those guys on the right were managed to stay in. And the second one's pretty violent. I'm amazed not more people, more people didn't fall out.
Yeah, I was impressed at how quickly they were able to recover everything. The swimmers who stayed in contact with the raft, that exterior grab line seems like it would have been really beneficial in that moment. Otherwise, you would have had 2 or 3 people reaching for the one single handle. And then the throw bag, which seemed unnecessary, but like sort of added that extra safety net, like boom, we're in here for sure. It gave the paddlers a chance to stop paddling, maybe help pull people in.
Yeah.
I thought the whole thing was really impressive. When you look downstream there at the end, that would have been a long swim.
Oh, totally. I mean, yeah. We'll say that's a big hit right there. That's a big hit. Yeah, that's a tough one. The thing I'll say is like only thing that I might do different than run, like they're really doing a great job is back. Why is it not working? Oh man, my screen just got all. There we go. Is right before that second drop where they're going to come off sideways. I'd probably call it get down there, and that might have kept people in the boat. That's the only thing that I would say that I would have contemplated doing different. Instead of having them paddle through this, is just to get down, get their weight down low. I mean, I don't know. What's your thoughts, Steve?
Yeah, I think that in hindsight, that might have helped.
Yeah.
I don't call get down and hang on very often in my time. I just haven't learned that reaction yet. So I would find myself paddling in this situation, I think, and hoping, trying to
Yeah.
trying to get a little bit further to their right.
Yeah.
Seems like where the line is. But I just thought that when it went wrong, which happens, though, I mean, the recovery time for that is a few seconds for 3 swimmers in a paddle boat in the middle of a class 4 rapid is impressive. So I was usually these aren't the kind of videos you see on YouTube. Usually see the things where this doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And then they had somebody there with a throw bag stationed in that one little calm stretch between those 2 drops. It seemed like that was smart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Raft, so clearly somebody walked down there. I thought that was an impressive showing.
I think it's interesting, like the thought with the throwback. There's like, if you were to go out and try to help keep that boat on shore and keep it from going down the next rapid, like you could walk out there and try to grab the bow line, but it'd be a lot more precarious, versus you could have really good footing, throw them the throw bag, and then they can grab the throw bag. So yeah, that made sense in a lot of ways. I think it's tricky too, because the guide's out of the boat.
Right.
And the guide's out of the boat, and these guys are doing the best they can. The one thing I didn't like is they stopped paddling and all tried to rescue the swimmers, when it's like, dude, just get that boat to shore. Keep paddling. But they don't have a guide to tell them that. So I think that's challenging. The one thing that concerns me about all this, Steve, is running this rapid one boat by themselves. Like, I mean, what's your thought on that? Like, would you
so if you had one more raft, would you want a downstream throw bag? Would you sacrifice a second raft for that downstream throw bag, which comes in handy here? Or would you rather have another boat coming down in the water immediately behind these guys?
I think I'd rather have another boat.
I don't know that, both of them are going to be wrong in some cases and right in other cases.
Yeah. I would say if that raft flipped,
throwback wasn't going to do any good. Maybe one swim.
You might save a swim or two, and that raft's gone, and man, what do you? And that would be my big concern. Is if the raft
and in that case, if you repeat that same scenario, having another boat in the water would have been better. And even in this case, they were going to make that eddy, and all those swimmers were going to get into shore without that throw bag. Like, the throw bag was a bonus. So, in that case, probably having a second boat right behind this one would have been better. If you had a third boat, then maybe you sacrifice one of those people to have downstream throw bag. If they only had one boat, they shouldn't be there, right?
That's not optimal. I agree. Yeah, you're like, I think that. Yeah, I think I'm with you there. My question to you: with 3 boats, would you have one go down and set safety? Then you think the obvious move is to have like the third boat go set safety and the 2 run it together?
I think it's an option. I think it's one of those things that you would, if you and I and Zach were there, we would talk about those pros and cons. And, if that first boat flips and the second boat has to chase it, the third boat's all by itself, totally unprotected. So you run that risk. No, I think if the 3 of us were there, I would have said, Zach, you go first, Aaron, you go second, and I'll go third.
All right, send the probes in front. There you go. More downstream safety. Oh, very nice. I would agree with that too. Let Zach go first. I always like a probe. You mentioned the perimeter line, and I think if this boat didn't have the perimeter line, this could have been a lot uglier.
Right?
A lot uglier.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, everyone's able to hold on to the raft easily. The raft gets ashore. I mean, otherwise they're trying to swim to shore. And so, I'm at I'm a big proponent of the perimeter lines. Zach and I have had some conversation about this. I think one of the things that we talk about, the problem with perimeter lines, like, is they need continual maintenance to maintain the proper, you don't want them all loose, as Zach calls them, danger ropes, where they're all loose, entrapment hazards. So you need to keep them snug. And that requires like some dedication, some persistence there, and just like always checking them and adjusting them. And he thinks that's one of the reasons a lot of commercial companies don't use them, is because it's hard to maintain them properly.
Yeah.
And I'd say most of the rivers you're running commercially, it's not like this stretch here where you're like, oh, you're gone. Like, oh man, like most of them, you're like, oh, you fell out. So I'm like, yeah, you're gonna hit your butt on a couple of rocks. That's not gonna be fun. The other side too that I've talked about a little with Zach is, on some runs, I don't want a perimeter line, because if you fall out, I don't want you holding on the side of the raft. You're kind of off the team at that point, and we'll get you at the bottom. So,
give me an example of when you don't want someone to be able to hold onto the side of the raft.
In the middle of Mushroom Rapid on Cherry Creek.
But wouldn't you, if that was the case, couldn't you just say, hey, let go? Like, why take that option away all the other times when they might want to be able to hold on?
Well, I think at low water on that river, pretty much everywhere, I'd rather not have them holding onto the side of the boat. Like, I think they're more likely to get hurt, honestly. They're more likely to get crushed between, like their feet. They're holding on the side of the boat in general. Like we can see here, this guy's feet are down. When people hold on the side of the boat, their feet are down a lot more, much more likely to get foot trapped, much more likely to get crushed up against a rock. Like there's I think high volume is where you want people to stay near the boat.
Sure.
When it's really high volume, 10,000 CFS, whatever, there's no rocks around, and you're just gonna get separated and get flushed downstream. Yeah, hold on to that raft. It's got a lot of flotation. But on technical low water rivers in general, with pool drop, where there's nice pools at the bottom, I just don't see that big of an advantage, I guess.
So this is interesting to talk about, because one of the things we want to talk about today is outfitting my private boat when I retire, and I have to go out and buy a raft after 40 years of being able to borrow every type of raft that I can. And now I'm thinking, okay, like I've made a few decisions about, well, I want to have solid wood oars. That's maybe the only decision I've made. And I'm gonna have pins and clips because of that. But now I'm trying to decide if I'm going to put a perimeter line on my boat, or if it'll be make one that fits really tight and be able to put it on and off really quickly, just sort of carry it in my rig bag. That I also don't have one of those. I'm gonna have to get one of those. Damn, I have my cam straps, huh? I should just start stealing them.
I was going to say
employment.
But I bet there's a bunch of old cam straps that people picked up over the years that aren't like kind of the standard ones that are used, that just like end up in a bucket. You know what I mean? Those ones that you like find it put in here, find it put in there.
No, I want to have them all like color coded and brand new and look really good.
So I've seen some tricks. If you're dirtbag Aaron style here, you can color code by just spray painting the buckles.
Yeah. Seen it. I
green buckles, red buckles, you can do it like that, so you can know quickly, and then they can be whatever. So, but
what kind of, if you were going to buy one raft, and I don't know that I'm ever going to do Cherry Creek again, but in theory, for you, the range of boating that you're going to do is Cherry Creek to the Grand Canyon, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what kind of boat are you going to buy? With your family?
I own a Sotar. I bought a 14-foot Sotar. I had a little Sotar for R2ing, and then I went with the bigger one. I had like a little 12-foot that I could use as a paddle boat also, but worked really well for R2ing because I was into that. But then I realized I had to have the right R2 partner to go do hard stuff. And with the bigger boat, it's just more useful. So I switched over to a 14-foot Sotar, and that's what I own now. And it's optimal for me. Like I think, like, because the Cherry Creek thing is kind of a unique place. Like I've run Avons up there, and you can, but on the Middle Fork of the Feather one time, we took a NRS raft. Yeah. And we were going up, and I was with Jeff Hall, and he had a Sotar, and he went over this drop and just slid over it and went down. we went over and stopped and got stuck like vertically like this because of how sticky it was on the bottom. And it was a really awkward, we got out of there, but it was like, oh, this is really sketchy. This could be bad. And we got out of there upright. But I was just, after that, I was like, no. Before that, I was like, yeah, I can get by. I can use a Hypalon to do it. But I realized on that run that it was like, yeah, this is not for this run, not for these types of runs. Those technical slide over rock type of runs.
Where's your Sotar right now?
In California, at in the garage at my parents' place, and they want me to get it out of there, So they would want to store my Sotar for me someplace.
I'll go move it for you. No, that's not what I meant. But rolling them versus keeping them inflated, is it rolled?
Yeah, it's rolled.
Not a big deal?
Rolled. Yeah, it's a little more annoying to roll and unroll, I think, particularly when they're new. But no, I mean,
and it's harder on the material.
Everyone I know who own, all the people I know in California who own them, roll them pretty much, who have them, and they've had them for a long time. Like I'll say Jeff, he's had his for 10 plus years. He keeps his rolled, and it works great. I'd say my thing with the rolls of them, it's a little more of a pain, but it's more like transporting. You just have to be more careful about transporting, like sitting them up on their ends. I feel like you're much more likely to rub a hole in them than
that's what I worry about, that crease.
Yeah, and so you got to pat it, make sure it sits flat. I think that's the part for me with the Sotar that's a little more stressful. And then the other part is repairing them. It's a little bit, I feel like the Hypalon's a little easier to repair than the Sotar.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
I'm definitely leaning towards Hypalon.
Yeah. I think Hypalon's here. But that's, before we go, okay. First of all, I just noticed we have a ton of comments. So, I think we're talking about, let's go through. Can we go through comments real quick before we get more? I feel like way behind, and people are probably making some comments about stuff like that. So, okay. Yeah. We need a Steve emoji. Yes. Agreed. Yeah. That's seconded. Yeah. Zach, get on it if you're listening. I've already picked my Raft. Should be getting a new Wing Williamson in December. Added a couple of D-rings and foot cups. Oh, cool. So Sean's on that. We're on that conversation.
I don't know what a Wing Williamson is. The wings are very, very attractive. And since you can't get a new Avon, I think wings are second on my list. But I'm curious about rolling a urethane boat, a Hypalon boat.
I think you can roll it. It's not, and particularly for your deals, you just roll it differently too. You know how the Hypalon boats, I feel like you fold them in half and then roll them. You don't do that. You start at one end in general and roll it down. That's because I think that folding in the middle is really hard on them. They're not as durable. So I roll from the end, and it's a little bigger, but that's a small problem, I would say.
And it's definitely lighter.
Yeah. That's what everyone says, but I don't think the Sotars, the older ones, I think that's true. I feel like the newer Sotars aren't that much lighter. Like they're lighter, but yeah, I like Sierra Max 15-foot Cherokee boats. I mean, they have a second layer of material on the bottom, but they're heavy. Those are heavy boats. They're really heavy boats. And I think the new NRS boats are heavier than the old Avons for sure. So compared to that, maybe more so. But yeah, the light thing, I haven't found it to be as much as people think it is. So the other thing I really like is that they don't fold. The Sotars, they're stiffer for for going over drops and stuff like that. But then they flip easier. So, you're not going to wrap, you're going to flip, which I think I'd rather flip than wrap in general.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, you're moving downstream still, you just flip it back over and away you go.
Yeah, it's a lot quicker recovery thing.
All right.
So you have a 14-foot Sotar.
Yeah.
I invite you on my private Grand Canyon trip. Is that what you bring?
Depending. I mean, honestly, for the Grand Canyon, I think it's just easiest to use those outfitters. It just it's so much easier. And it's just particularly if you're organizing it and all I have to do is show up with my Raft, sure. But if I'm organizing the trip, this is what I found is I'm organizing what am I supposed to figure out who's bringing what gear, who's doing it's like, no, let's just call
That's
like
a
pro.
different,
And
that's a
just be
different
like,
discussion. I just
yeah,
meant
it is, but it
rather
isn't.
row down the Grand Canyon. Your 14-foot Sotar or
Oh,
a 18-foot
18,
Avon.
an 18-footer. I don't care. I don't care what it is, an 18-foot anything.
It's
I
not more
actually,
fun in a smaller boat.
no, I don't think so. I
No?
mean, I haven't rowed a smaller boat down it, but not really. No, I think that it's just comfortable being in the big boat, and then you can run big features. You could just
Yeah.
like chug down the middle of it and be like, yeah, let's go. So, I mean, the features are big, and they're saying the water's going to be lower now there, so that might change things, like they're not going to, with the changes in the flows, because they're going to be releasing less water to go down the river. And so the high water now isn't going to be what it was. So I might have a different opinion after seeing it next summer, but, okay, well, let's we're getting behind on these comments, but, yeah, the Russians definitely have a different definition of safety. They get after it on a whole nother level. That's a good point. And they have a different approach. Like, yeah, definitely. That's definitely true. 14-foot Maxon for years, always rolled it, getting old, but minimal wear and tear. Is that a PVC boat? I'm guessing. I've never even heard of a Maxon. Have you heard of a Maxon, Steve?
No.
All right. Let's see here. Maxon rafts. Maybe Sean, you can. Yeah, they look. Yeah. Yeah, I've never heard of Maxim, but that's interesting. I'd never heard of them. There you go. And yeah, I'm guessing PVC because I feel like most of the companies you don't know about is PVC.
Pipeline boats are pretty hard to find, it seems. Pipeline, there aren't that many manufacturers.
Yeah, Pro XT all day. Is that like a Avon Pro? That's a great boat. I will say it's a great boat. But I think, Nick, when you're picking a boat, if you're the one, remember, you'd be able to move it 15 years from now too. We'll provide a boat like boats like Sotar.
I think I'm already 15 years ahead of you, but hopefully I'll be moving it 15 years from now. That would be an accomplishment for me. But that is a good point. I talked to one of our guides who did a one boat rogue trip, and it was a small woman, and her biggest worry about doing a one boat road trip was how to get the boat in the back of her car at takeout. And it was like she was trying to decide which boat to take because she was going to have to be like, she wasn't sure she was able to lift it and put it in the back of her car. And it's a legitimate, I think that's a good thing to think about. She got help.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's always somebody there.
There's always somebody there.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, hey, can you give me a hand with? I'm just, like that.
So you want to be able to do it by yourself if you can.
Totally. No, that's what I was gonna say. Is what's nice about a 12-foot, and here, let's see. Here's some more. Nick's 14-foot Sotar or mid 90s. That's what I have is a 90s Sotar from, I think it's the late 1990s Sotar. I think it's late 1990s. It's an old one. It's like 20 years old, and there's an error in there where the Sotars had problems. I think the 2007 they did something different. They started having rod on the inside in them, and I think they stopped doing that. But yeah, that's a nice vintage. Here we go. Yeah, see, the Sotar is using. I don't know if it's a thicker material. Like it's not. I don't think the denier is thicker. I think it just weighs more. I don't think it's stronger actual material, if that makes sense. But I can't. Don't totally come in. The newer 12.5 Sotar weighs. Yeah, so Nick's saying that. Okay. Man, we got Steve. We're getting by every time I say a word, we're getting more behind the comments. Zach's blue Williamson's rafts are heavier due to the blue collar is painted on, therefore heavier.
I've heard that. I heard that. Yeah.
How much heavier is the paint? Is it a pound? I mean, when you're talking about a boat that's like 80 pounds, I mean, how much heavier is the paint? Is it that much? Yeah.
I don't know. We had some urethane coating done to some of our old Avons, and it made a significant difference.
Yeah, I guess that is true. When you paint all over it. Yeah, yellow, shown with yellow.
All right, noted.
Well, and actually, that's a good point. Is like going back to the thing about being easy getting out of your car. That's where the cataract is nice. I think is you got light tubes. We're all over the place today, or we're not. We'll get back on topic. But the light tubes in the cat are nice because then you just have two tubes. They're a lot less expensive. The pain is the frame, but it's really
rigging
easy
it every time.
Yeah, rigging it every time. Getting where do you rig the frame onto your car or your vehicle to get it to and from? I mean, you know, like, but you can pick up a cat by yourself and like, you know, I'll just pick it up, stand up in the middle of it and walk it down the river. It's much lighter. So okay, there we go. The Maxons are PVC. All right. Yeah. Blue Puma yellow with orange D-rings, orange floor valve. Oh my God! See, Steve, you're just worried about the boat you're going to get. There's a bigger problem is what color scheme do you get? Clearly, there's been a lot of thought put into color schemes on rafts.
It's not going to be purple. It's not going to be yellow.
Yeah,
I can tell you that already. I really like gray boats, so I'm leaning towards that. Going further, Aaron, are you going to have oarlocks or pins and clips?
Man, okay.
Or both.
Let's back up here for a second here. Let's back up to the beginning. Why wood oars?
Oh, because I'm a old school traditionalist.
Are you gonna find some ash, or are you gonna get like the new? I don't know what they're making it out of now, but they don't have ash anymore.
I want the real 100% ash oars. Yeah, I'll find them.
They're around. And sometimes if you keep an eye on Craigslist, particularly in California, I notice every once in a while they'll pop up and people be like, getting rid of all this old rafting gear.
Really?
You know, they're trying to sell this raft from like the 70s bucket boat Avon that leaks with a foot pump. And you look at the oars, you're like, oh, dude, those oars are worth like a lot of money. There's three beautiful ash oars there. And so,
all right, yeah. I'll start looking now.
Yeah, there you go. Well, yeah, I don't know. Fiberglass, I bet it burns.
Yeah, but you're not going to burn an ash oar either. I think you're going to freeze to death first. Those things are, I don't know how much they cost now, but they're $300 each.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so you're going with the wood.
Really cold.
Yeah, and I'll say pins and clips is nice with the wood oars. It's easy to do it. The wrap gets tricky because oars are different diameter, and then you're like trying to wrap them, and then oh, it's too big around to fit in the lock well, and there's a lot of issues with the wrapping the old wood oars. Like, I mean, it takes a lot of skills, I think, to do it. You've got to be kind of an artisan almost to really want to do that. And
we switched to the composite oars in Idaho when we switched to oarlocks, just because of that reason, because the consistency is really, really good. That would be, that's in the back of my mind that might be the compromise I have to make. But I really sort of like to think that the feel of wooden oars is better and that I can't imagine anything else and all those old nostalgic things. But
oh yeah, they're nice. I like the flex on them. I like the handles on them. Yeah, I mean, I have some sitting in my parents' garage. So, and then if you do find an old pair that are a little warped with the pins and clips, it doesn't really matter much. You know, if they got a little warp in them and you're trying to run them as locks, it really messes up your forearms. And that's one of the reasons I started using the composites more often, just because so many of the wood oars I was using, they would dive on me, and I noticed day after day after day it'd start to give me problems. So but to answer your question, going back for me, I feel like Grand Canyon is the only place I'd really want an 18-foot raft. What other river are you going to want an 18-foot raft on? Where you're going to be like, dude, I really want an 18-foot raft over a different raft.
Maybe you should get an 18-foot raft and I'll get a 14-foot raft, and you'll keep them in your parents' garage, and we're both not going to need them at the same time.
No, exactly. Yeah, but that's why Steve, I made the comment about using the outfitters on the 18s, because like if you're gonna go down to Grand Canyon, you might as well.
Yeah, I agree. Grand Canyon shouldn't. So in that list, when I said Cherry Creek to the Grand Canyon, you're going to say the Grand Canyon is its own expedition. It's so easy to just rent that gear, get it specifically set up for the Grand Canyon. private boat.
Yeah.
Don't even put
And it
that
sound-
on the list
Yeah,
of
and if
problems
so-
you have to solve.
Totally. And if you're doing one and you're doing it yourself, yeah, I'll bring my 14. I don't care. Whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I'll be like, yeah, I'll bring my
You
14
can
foot
still
raft.
do it in a 14-footer for
Yeah,
sure.
I can still do it. I'm not worried about it. It'll work, But yeah. So take removing that from the equation, then I think like a 14 or 15 foot raft in my mind is the most
Right,
optimal. Like, and this is maybe for me too, is I want to still be able to take it as a paddle boat. So I want to be able to be like, oh, I want to take my brother and his kids and my, like and their friends and take them paddle boating. Okay, cool. I can do that. No problem. I can drive a 14 or 15 foot boat as a paddle boat. Not a problem. 16, I feel like that you can do it, but it's not fun all of a sudden for you. Like it's a lot harder, but the 15 still works pretty well. So I think those, in my mind, those are the optimal, just in general. And then you can also use it. Like I can go up and do a road trip in a 14-foot boat. That's no problem. I can go take out to Idaho and you're like, oh, I'm going to go do the Middle Fork. Well, I can run it on a 14 or 15 pretty much at any flow.
Sure.
When it gets really low, I just try to make my boat really light so I could just kind of pull it over a couple spots. But yeah, so I think that's my personal approach. And I'd probably just get a like a creek frame for it that I can use for everything, and just be like, okay, unless I'm doing a ton of multi-day trips, then I might think about getting a different frame for it, or getting, and then like one of those NRS frames.
You do a PVC or urethane boat, not a Hypalon boat?
I wouldn't do PVC. I would buy. I just talking to too many repair people over the years. You start asking about PVC, and there's like, oh, don't buy PVC. Just the people who repair boats, like those women up in Portland. I can't remember the name of their company. I remember talking to them recently about it, and they're just like, I'm like, anything about materials, like, yeah, the PVC is miserable. They're like,
so you'd get urethane over Hypalon though?
I probably would, but just because I want to go do, in my mind, not that maybe I won't ever do it again, to be able to go do Cherry Creek and the Middle Fork of Feather and do those runs. And I own one right now. But I'll say this: if Steve, you're like tomorrow, you're like, hey, I'm going to buy you a brand new NRS 14-foot Hypalon boat, I'd be like, sweet, I'll take it.
I didn't say that. No.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like I would take it and I would use it, and I'd use it with a lot of joy. And I'd probably even find a way to take it down Cherry Creek and just be a little sketched out a few spots. But yeah.
Sketched out because you're in a Hypalon boat versus
just the way it sticks and wants to drop off stuff. Like you go off a drop, and so a lot of the drops, it's not like even smooth all across. It's like there's a little more on this side, so you'll catch and then you'll come off sideways.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't had that many problems with it over the years. But yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not that worried. I'm not going to take it as a paddle boat up there anyway, so I'm not worried about getting thrown out the back. But yeah, I guess I would lean towards the Sotar right now, but I would be pretty happy with the Hypalon boat. And I'll say I think those NRS boats are heavy. That going back to that other point. So
yeah,
I think the wing boats actually, if cost wasn't an issue, then you're coming up to me and be like, Aaron, I will buy you whatever raft you want.
No, wait, you're going to buy me whatever raft I want. You're going to buy me a wing, 15-foot wing with D-rings and foot cups?
14.5 to 15.5 foot wing with 3 thwarts and foot cups in the front of the boat. Just 2 foot cups in the front for the front paddlers. I'm not worried about in the rest of the boat.
Right.
And then maybe one in the back for paddle captain. Probably not. I'm not that worried about it. Just slide a foot underneath the thwart. I'm not going to do anything that's scary. And then the D-ring thing's interesting. I think too many D-rings causes problems because then the paddlers are catching on them. So enough, but not like Zach wants D-rings everywhere. And I think it's kind of,
you don't need it. I agree.
Yeah.
And it seems like their wing can be pretty flexible with where they, like, you can sort of customize things from what I understand. Is that what you know?
I think you can customize, and Sotar also talks about customizing.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say my experience with the customization is I would buy a standard raft. Like with Sotar, I would say buy a raft they've already built and be like, yeah, I like the looks of that raft. I'm going to buy that raft.
No, I'm
So I
just
feel
looking
like
at D-rings and things like and thwarts and placement.
yeah, the D-rings and the thwarts and stuff like that. But even that, then you need to like drive up to Sotar and say, this is where I want the foot cup. This is where I want the D-ring, and actually like draw it on the side of there, because it's like there's so much opportunity for miscommunication on it.
Yeah.
And, you know, trying to take something 2D, if you do it in a picture or something like that, and make it 3D, I just feel like there's a lot of opportunity for disappointment there. And so that's and I think they're really good at building boats, both companies, but I don't know if everyone's who's building the boats are really into the boating part of it. So the nuance of it may not be there quite the same. So, hey, we're getting behind again on comments. So here we go. The blue color adds 12 pounds. Oh, why do you need to put that on there? Like, why is that to keep it from wearing out?
Blue boat. I don't know what their base colors are, but I don't think I would add 12 pounds just to have a specific color.
Yeah, Wing has 7 material colors.
Are you saying Bob's white T-boat was painted? Or
Yeah,
is that one of the base?
Yeah, I think that's what they're saying. Yeah. This I unless, I mean, the only thing with the painting is sometimes, like, I know with the UV degradation on the polyurethane boats can be a problem, and I'm betting that paint does a good job of protecting, particularly like the white paint. So it might be worth it for the long haul of the boat.
Oh man,
there you go. Chris,
I'm still waiting to see all of this UV degradation research that everybody talks about, because if you left it out in the sun 365 days of the year, maybe, but that's not how often you do that. The fact that you're going down the river X number of days a year, that's going to make
That's a good point. Particularly for private. If you're commercial, if you're running them as commercial rafts, like on the Grand Canyon all summer, yeah, that's a different story than, hey, it's getting 10, 20 days a year. That's a good point with the UV degradation. So here you go, Steve, 15.6. Chris, I agree. I think that's a nice size boat. I have my feelings about airboats, about, we're not going to, I don't know if we want to go down that road today, with the water in the floor hole scene. I would just say, like, test out an airboat before you buy one, to make sure you like the way they run, because they run a lot different.
Yeah.
So that's a good point about the UV degradation. So a long time ago, back when Bill Wing owned Wing Inflatables, he had these like Wing demo days. And I remember, we were in college and we went up there one of them. We found that one of the engineers, who's like one of the nerd guys. And so Zach and I were just like nerding out with him, talking with him about stuff. Yeah. And he said for their boats, the blue boats had the least amount of dye in them, and the dye had the UV inhibitor in them. And so they would bleach out faster and they would have more problems with the UV. The yellow had the most dye in it. And so it had so much dye in it, the material wasn't quite as strong, but it resisted UV much better. And an interesting thing that I noticed later on with the Sotars was, I noticed the Sierra Mac blue Sotars, they would fade out pretty fast, while the yellow Sotars that Earth River ran in Chile, where the sun just destroys everything, held up extremely well to the sun.
Really?
Yeah. And that's actually why I chose a yellow Sotar, was because
gray boat.
That's a good question about the gray boat. I don't know how much the gray boats have. So good question, Steve.
It's gonna be gray no matter who makes it. I want a gray one.
Do you want a little camo? You want camo gray, so like no one can see you?
No, I don't think I'm going to put an American flag on it like the Moravia boats either. But yeah, okay. Just gray.
Okay, have a 16-foot NRS Expedition. Yeah, 20. That's a nice boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say I really like that 16-foot NRS Raft. I think it's a great gear boat. I would say this: if I were planning to only be rowing rivers and not paddle boating them, I would think seriously about getting that boat. I really like that raft. That's the one. UC Davis has those, and Ali Greco really liked them. And I thought they were
16-footers.
What?
16-footers?
For their gear boats. Yeah, they bought the
Really?
NRS 16 foot for their gear
Yeah.
boat. I mean, kind of like this. That they want it to be a Tuolumne size, and it's a nice boat. And I think it might be the best of their Expedition Series boats is their 16. Like I think the 14 is good. I think that 16 is the shape and the way it moves is really nice. This is interesting. Wing costs less than Sotar? If it does, that's amazing. I thought wings were more expensive than Sotar. Sotar raised their prices a lot lately. Yeah, interesting.
I was talking to
There we
someone
go.
with the wing boats the other day, and they said they are expensive, but every boat is expensive right now. So it wasn't that much of a difference.
Yeah. All right, there you go. Wing has 14.5. I thought Zach had them. See, the other thing too is Wing has some. If you talk to Wing, they have some boats they built. Like I know for Zach, there are some different sized boats,
Right.
and so it may not be one of their standard ones, but they have that in their system, and they've got like this CAD system for cutting and putting together. And so I think their system. It seems to me. I haven't heard about the same magnitude of error as I've heard with Sotars. So I think theirs is more because of the military contracts they do. They have to be more. Their tolerances are a lot less, and Sotar's is a little looser. Yeah. So, but yeah, 14, 16. There you go. Yeah.
All right, on my list.
All right, big meditations. So, yeah, big. What's Big B? I'm not familiar with Big B. So
Sounds like you got to know though. If you want a wing boat.
Yeah, it sounds cool. Yeah. Okay. Chafe stripes are painted on too. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Aaron's air beef. Exactly. Yeah. I can't go. I start on a rant on airs. I need Zach around too, so that we feel like both sides of the air coin are discussed. So yeah. I thought Wing has other sizes too than just a 14 and a half and a 16. I thought they had a 15 something Raft. So, but I like the Wing a lot. My concern with the Wing is it's the floors, the way they're like the Sotars have like a flap of material you can grab if they're upside down. It's really easy to pull you up on it.
Yeah.
Which is also a problem because that flap of material gets caught in the back over time and gets ripped off if you're going over shallow stuff.
Okay.
But the wing boats, it's a cord that goes. The material is corded through, and so it's a tighter thing. So it's a lot harder to get your fingers in the holes. It's much harder. So I definitely, if I were running a wing boat, I'd want to have those little pieces of
Loops,
webbing to be able to grab to get on the upside down boat. Like actually, I flipped one of Zach's wing boats on the Illinois. I didn't even try to climb on top. I'm like, I'm not going to get on top of this. I just swam it to shore. I was just like, and I'm almost every other raft I've ever flipped, and I've flipped a lot of rafts. I've always climbed up on top. And that one time I was like, I know I'm not going to. It's going to be a pain. I'm not going to try this right now because I know how hard it is because I've tried to do it before. So, and it didn't have pieces of webbing in the boat. Yeah.
I don't know the whole floor attachment thing. I'm just used to Avons where it's whatever integral to the whole boat, and there's a hole punched in the little gutter there. So I don't know the whole floor attachment system, laced in floors, and it seems pretty cool that you could be able to replace the floor a lot easier if something happened. But then how does it drain? How fast does it drain? Can you grab onto it? I'm gonna have to start thinking about all those things.
Yeah, exactly. Blue Puma. Yeah, the Sotar does supply a lot of outfitters. I think particularly in the Grants Pass area, just because it's so nice. I think that's another big thing about the boat you buy, Steve. Depending where you live, who's around that can repair it easily. Like I'd be much more inclined to buy a Sotar if I lived in Grants Pass or Merlin, because you're just like, I got a problem with it. I'll just take it back to the factory. They're right there, and they can fix it for me.
Yeah.
And getting one out to Wings a lot more of a pain. If you're in Idaho, depending, are you close to Moravia? I mean, it just makes life a lot nicer. So
it'll be easier than an Avon, no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. Now that being said, there are some companies that buy Sotars. Buy wings. Like I know Oars uses some wings. Zach uses some wings.
All Outdoors.
I feel like some others. All Outdoors. Have they
Yeah,
bought any
that's-
new wings, or did they buy some new ones? Or
I don't
they
know if
just
they've
buy?
got new ones, but I know they have a
They're
lot of
using.
they have
Yeah.
wings from back in the day.
Yeah, the old Whitewater
This is a
Voyages
good
wings.
sign that they've been around that long. Like that's another.
That's That's
You know,
true.
if I have to lift this boat in 15 years, I want it to be still holding together. So, dang man, that's
All right,
I think I
there
should
we go. Yeah,
plan on 15.
totally. Yeah, you need to last a long time. Yeah. Okay. So Big B's a commenter, not a raft, some new cool raft provider, which we're like, oh dang. So this is the other thing, the drop stitch floor. Steve, have you
Yeah,
ever
man,
rafts with drop stitch?
I don't know
What's
a lot about. I don't know what the performance differences would be. It seems like the drop stitch floor is going to be a lot smoother going over things, but then the baffled floor or whatever you call it, that's what I'm used to, and I don't know that I've ever had that. I've ever felt like that's a disadvantage. I think the ability to flop it in and out is key. The drop stitch floor probably doesn't have, like, we've had baffles or whatever, those ridge baffles on our Avons blow out, and that's a nuisance. That's a dead end. You can't. It's a big problem. Whereas those drop stitch floors would never do that, right?
the old Sotar drop stitches had that problem. They would start to pull out and bubble up. Yeah, we had that problem with the old drop stitch. Like the
Aren't there
original.
like just thousands of those little drop stitches that would?
And they would start to pull out. Like I remember it start to tumor, kind of like the other ones, but it would just tumor out. Yeah, I saw it. But you know what's interesting is the Moravia is the main one that I think about with the classic drop stitch floor. Now they don't even have pressure relief valves in the floor, which is really nice. So what I really like about drop stitch floor, like on the Moravia, is no pressure relief valve. So like when I work Grand Canyon trips with Azra, I can choose an NRS boat, an old Avon, or a Moravia. And if I'm doing a paddle, I can choose a Sotar. Well, you just get a Sotar. So it's kind of funny. You get to use all those boats down there. I choose the Moravia. And I choose the Moravia because like
pressure relief valve.
No, it doesn't have pressure relief valve. It's not getting sand in it, and it's getting all soft and having problems. Like I pump it up the first day.
That's it.
And I usually go maybe a week, and then maybe I'll add a little air to it, after a week of being on the water, or maybe not. And the other thing I like about the drop stitch is, when you step on the floor, your feet get wet.
Yeah.
Your feet stay dry. Your feet stay dry.
Really?
So when living out of the boat in the evening, it's really nice because your feet stay dry. And
these all sound like valid reasons to get a drop stitch floor.
Now, the bad parts. It definitely surfs off of waves more. It's like it's hard to stay in the wave train. It does not track nearly as well. And anyone who's heard me talk on the show knows I love tracking. And so the performance of the boat's not as good, I'll say. Like the tracking, it doesn't track as well. I feel like it skids out more. It just doesn't move down the line nearly as well. So that's my mind the big disadvantage. I think the material's really strong and tough on those boats. I really like it. And that's the other thing too, they don't leak in general when I was working down there. And so I was like, the Avons are all old and leaky. The NRS boats started to get leaks pretty fast. And so those ones you'd be like, you didn't have to worry about topping it off, which I just like on a week-long trip. Yeah, it's a little bit of pain running a couple rapids, but I don't have to spend 15 minutes topping it off in the morning. Yeah. Like that adds up, 15 minutes every morning, particularly when you're working, you have minimal time to yourself. So that's my look on the drop stitch. But
okay.
Yeah.
What are the wing? Do the wing boats have that flat floor, or
I think they're baffled. They're baffled.
They're baffled.
Yeah, they're baffled. Yeah. Wing stand size is 12 point. There we go. Thanks, Sean. 14.6, 16, 18. Yeah, I think the 14.6 is a great boat.
14.6. Yeah. I really like 14-foot boats. I don't want anything smaller than that.
Yeah.
So something a little bit bigger. And I don't know that I want to go up to 16, but that seems
exactly. Good. I would, Todd, from what I've seen, I feel like that NRS 16-foot Expedition is really similar to the Avon Pro, that 16-foot Pro. I think that from what I've seen, and other people comment if you've seen something else, Zach's actually the the 16-foot Sotars are also really nice. That's also a really nice boat. The standard 16-foot Sotar, those row really well. The 16-foot wings row really well. All three of them, I think, row really well. The 16, for some reason, the 16s are all nice shapes now that I think about it. So,
Aaron,
yeah.
if I blew up a 14-foot Sotar and a 14-foot Avon and
Yep.
topped them off exactly the same, put the exact same frame and oars in each one, and blindfolded you, and had you get in the boat and not touch the material, like you're just going to, I'm going to place you on the rowing frame with your feet on the bar, your hands on the oars. How quickly do you think you would be able to tell the difference?
Pretty darn quick.
In flat water?
I think I would definitely once I got into some little ripples. I think I would pretty quick, just the way it flexes, just even not even rowing it, just like moving like this on the seat.
It's amazing that that's different. I know. Yeah, I would. I think I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'd say no right away. Maybe not even rowing, but yeah. I mean, I could definitely tell.
Which one of those would you feel more at home in? Like which of those types of boats have you spent more of your own time in? Because I think you can argue the performance merits for a long time, and a lot of this is going to come down to Todd saying his favorite design is an Avon Pro. Might just feel more comfortable in a Hypalon boat because it feels more familiar to him. I'm going to feel more comfortable in a Hypalon boat because it feels more familiar to me. But which of those have you spent more time in, and would that matter?
I've spent most of my time in the 14-foot Avons, and then I would say the 15+ foot Sotars, the Sierra Max Sotars, And I mean, I've done 14-foot Sotars. I've used them some, but not nearly as much. But it depends what I was trying to do. If I want to take stupid
more comfortable, which one? Where do you feel more? Do you feel more at home in one over the other, or is it like, put me in either one, I'll get it down the river, no big deal?
I'll say this: like a long time ago, I got to do a train trip with Whitewater Voyages on the Tuolumne, and they had 14-foot Sotars, and no one knew me. And so I ended up with these 4 young bros from the Kings who wanted to just gut everything. And that boat was so fun that day because it just like we ended up flipping. We ended up going to something too big, but it was super fun. It was way more fun than I would have had in an Avon that day. Like it just like we were just hammering through stuff, just like goosh, 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 and then we flipped.
It's funny how you remember that day.
Oh, totally.
Because it stands out.
And this was
for some reason stands out. That's cool.
And just to put on, that was when Aaron Tippett was the manager. What, like 20 plus or 25 years ago now?
Yeah.
20 years ago, 25 years. Yeah. Now I had to take my parents down the Tuolumne 10,000 CFS. Oh, I'd want an Avon in a heartbeat. No questions asked. I'm like, yeah. My 70-year-old parents, I want to get them down safely. I'll put them in an Avon. Yeah, for sure. Like not. I wouldn't. And I, if I was an outfitter there running the river at 10,000 routinely, I'd be like, yeah, let's run Avons. If Avons were still available, that's what that boat. I'd probably choose the NRS boat, the NRS 14. I like that boat a lot. I think that one does well here. Here we go. So yeah, Zach did design the 16-foot wing after the Avon Pro. That's I thought so too. Yeah, there we go. All right. Yeah, the handling is a little bit, but it still tracks really well. It moves well. It carries the weight well. It fits well into chutes. Yeah, it does handle a little bit differently. But you know what? I think the PB, I feel like it's a more noticeable difference between the Hypalon and the polyurethane when you're running like a paddle boat, which doesn't have a frame, providing more stability and stiffness to it. When you got that frame across it, there's still some difference for sure in how they run, but it's not as noticeable. And then you've got the really low center of gravity, so both are pretty stable. But I'd say, yeah, the old Amon's probably a little more stable, particularly if you're running big high volume stuff. But the Sotar, those ones are going to ride over rocks a lot better and just slide over stuff. That coefficient of friction is less. I'm sure it has some different. I bet Zach tried to improve on the Pro. If Zach was part of it, I'm sure Zach would not just copy it directly. He's going to make it better. The high side, huh?
Yeah. I know the high side 18-footer is exactly like the 18-foot Avon. Like that's what I've.
But you got okay. But then you guys bought one, but didn't think it was worth going that direction.
We have two. It's held up well. The high side, I don't think there's any complaints about that 18-foot high side. Yeah. Yeah, I think.
Why haven't you bought? Why? Is there a reason you guys didn't buy more of those?
We just haven't bought 18-footers for a while.
Okay. Would you, if you were, granted, you're not going to be in charge going forward, but if you were in charge going forward, would you buy the high side?
I don't know. Those are hard decisions. It used to be easy. We just bought Avons. Now you have to make choices. The job's a lot harder now. That's why I'm retiring.
Okay, because Avon's no longer around. So
I have no reason to not buy a high side.
Pardon?
I have no reason to not buy an NRS boat. I have no reason to not buy an Avon boat. They've all worked really well for Arda. We've put them through their paces. They have held up. They've been fine boats. The things that, the nuisances like the pressure relief valve on the floor, the ability to customize it, those are where where I would make decisions now. Like, I don't know that the stock, if Highside says, hey, we'll make you this 18-foot boat, keep the CAD design the same, but we'll move the D-rings around for you, or we'll make a different color for you, we'll do these, we'll put foot cups in it, blah, 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 blah. If they were willing to do all those kinds of things, that's where the difference would come in now. NRS was willing to do that when we had those boats made 10 years ago. Avon was never willing to do that. Always a frustration. Sotar, Wing, those people, the customization piece seems like it's really valuable.
It is nice. Particularly like you're like specifically like, I'll say for Marty Sotars, where we know we're going to put the frames in the back of it every time, having D-rings in the right spot so it's secure as well. It's not all awkward. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So this amazes me, Sean. Thanks for sharing this. The Wing is less expensive than the Sotar. Ooh, wow.
There you go.
I mean, Sotar just must have more business they know what to do with right now. There's like, we don't want people buying them, because I think the Wing product is better from what I've seen. And don't get me wrong, Sotar is a great product, but I think the Wing product, like the way the floor is integrated in, you're going to not have to replace that floor webbing nearly as often. It's a lot harder to string it through, so you don't want to have to restring it. But yeah, those Wing boats are, Here we go. Zach's not here to give me, so I get a point versus Zach, but thanks, Blue Boom. I appreciate it.
Wait, what was your point?
About the frame. You just said great point about the frame.
Oh, getting the
rigidity.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, Todd. Yeah,
the stiffness part. Yeah. The stiffness part, I think, is what you would notice.
Yeah,
and I would feel more comfortable in a less stiff boat, or I'd feel more at home. I just don't have that much experience in the stiffer boats. I'm sure when I started rowing one and started to see all those other advantages, and maybe they're easier to move, I think then I might be more attracted to them. But I know what a Hypalon boat feels like. So
yeah, you're not going to have to get out and push it as much. Pull it over rocks, Steve. That's a nice thing as you go, or you just got to get it really soft.
What are you talking about? You get stuck? Huh. I don't even think about that when I'm buying a boat, Aaron. I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess you should. You should, though. That's a good thing for you to keep in mind.
Yeah.
How to get it unstuck.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So if you were to buy an 18-foot raft right now, Steve, I know you spend a lot of time thinking about this. If you were to be, because of your job, but what would you buy for yourself? if you were to buy an 18-foot raft?
So this will be the answer to that question. I already bought that raft. 5 years ago, Zach was selling off his old Echo Avon Spirits. So I bought one of his used 18-foot Avon Spirits. I don't even know what year it is. I've only seen it a couple of times. My nephew has it up in Idaho. It's like I have that boat. When you invite me on your Grand Canyon trip and you're not using the outfitted people, I got my boat for that. And it's awesome to have. And I know but it was like, man, this is an Avon. They're not going to make these anymore. Zach was selling it for less than I thought he should. He wanted to get rid of them. So I bought that boat. I have that boat. But that's not going to be,
yeah. So if you were to buy one now, you're not going to be able to get...
I would probably take that.
Yeah.
If I go rafting in California, I'd look like a fool in that. So that's the boat I'm trying to buy, is my sort of, whatever you want to call it, my more practical, everyday boat. And the 15-foot seems like the size. And then it's a matter of...
You have an 18 though. So, I mean, you could break that out on the road. You could break that on the middle fork, the main, like you, all of a sudden, if
really nice
I'd be much more inclined to say the 14.
Right. And then I can take the 14 and my nephew can bring or Sam and Mac can bring the 18-footer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let them
maybe even a 13.
No, I don't want anything smaller than a 14-foot boat. I think that and again, I don't know how often I'm going to do on a private boat, a 4-person or paddle combo probably seems like who does that. But for me, like that's the most common type of boating that I've done. And a 14-foot boat is pretty tight for that. So having that extra foot would be nice. And I think that, I'm going to have all my private gear stuff now, my 3 watershed bags. So I don't think I can fit it all in a 14-foot boat. And my personal 20 mil ammo can, and my other personal 20 mil ammo can. I'm going to be one of those people. And my cargo net.
You're going to have everything. You're going to have in the ladder. You can have the little drop down ladder for climbing back into your raft, Steve.
Oh, hey, I did want to talk about that. That's a good point. It's harder and harder for me to get back in a road.
Yeah.
I have to work on it. I have to get lucky. I have to do some little cheat straps sometimes. But that perimeter line, is that going to make it easier?
Oh, God, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Oh,
okay.
yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, the perimeter line makes it easier. I mean, you want to play with it and figure out how to use it best, because sometimes you want it to give a little more so you can get a little lower.
Yeah,
sometimes you want to get a little less. So, and then you're like, sometimes I'll put my hand on both sides of a D-ring and grab it so it's tighter. Or if I want to be a little looser, I'll grab it out in the middle of the long place so it'll be a little looser, just depending on the boat and where my shoulders are going to be to get in. Yeah.
I think if I was going to customize a boat, I would have them put the handles below that center line or on the center line rather than, they put them about 2 or 3 inches above. And it's probably so they're not on the farthest outside part.
So don't get worn off on the rocks, probably. Yeah.
Again, if you hit rocks, I could see where that would be a consideration. But I'm going to miss the rocks. And I want to be able to get back in the boat more than I care about missing rocks or having the handles rub off. I'll deal with that if they rub completely off. I want to be able to get back in the boat. And even the 2 or 3 inches seems like it could make a difference. And getting back in the boat, I think that is a legitimate concern that everybody should have when they rig their boat, when they buy their boat, when they think about what they're going in, getting on it upside down. Like those are moments you don't want to be like not prepared.
What about having like offset handles, like little ladder handles,
or more
like going all the way up, like you have like 5 handles going up the thwart, and so you could just walk up one handle over the other?
Yeah, or something. I don't know. I'm going to work on that in my retirement, is some sort of the little ladder thing. Maybe that's what it'll come to if that's what it takes. But getting back in a boat gets harder and harder.
I'll say I really like the thwart line, a piece of wood that goes along the thwart and you wrap it around the extension that goes to the D-ring. that's really easy to walk hand over. I think that's where I've seen most people have success is setting one of those up. They go handle, get one of their hands just above the D-ring on it this way, and then they can walk up it, boom, 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 and get themselves in.
Yeah,
I feel like
the cheat lines I've done, that's what it's been, is sort of that way to be able to hand over hand it. Yeah. And everybody, I know you can self-rescue. I know I can self-rescue most of the time. But if you go for a long swim,
no, I agree.
And then you self-rescue or you miss on your first time, it gets harder and harder and harder. So even if you're, I can always self-rescue.
Yeah.
It's harder and harder. The more tired you get, the older you get, the more longer.
And Steve, you don't just self-rescue once. If the boat flips,
right? I know
it's upside down. You got to climb on top of it. You got to flip it back over, and then you got to climb back in.
Yeah,
it's like you're doing a bunch. So yeah, totally. Oh, that's an interesting point. The tear rate. One advantage is you can do on river repairs. Todd, that's a good point. I'm going to say your glue is probably bad though, Todd. I'm guessing your glue is bad. If your glue is like everyone else's glue I've ever seen, or you got to buy new glue. Like, what is it, every year or two? You've done a lot of repairs, Steve. How often do you have to buy new glue?
Yeah, it's got like an 18-month shelf life, or it used to. It's really hard to find the one-part stuff, but the one-part stuff did work really well for on-river repairs. All on-river repairs are harder now than they seem like they used to be. I don't want to sound like that person.
Why do you say that? Why are they harder now?
Because the glue seems to be pickier. Like you got to mix it to a higher accuracy. It's a little bit. It's not quite as foolproof as it used to be. Conditions have to be a little bit better, I think.
Yeah.
I haven't repaired a lot of urethane or PVC boats, but repairing an Avon, you can do it in the field and be done with it.
Yeah, my kind of feeling is just put some tape on it and get it off the river and deal with it. Like, I feel like half the time they don't work right. The glue's wrong. This is just my mentality. And I've seen it work well. I was on a trip last year, actually, on the subway where we got a hole in an old Avon. Actually, I think we had 2 holes in 2 days in the Avons, and they, fixed them on the river and they were good to go, and they're going to go back and be put away, and it's done. And so, yeah, in that way, that's really cool. But that's a commercial trip, and I think that's kind of a different scene. Like for me with my private boat, I'm just going to tape it up and get home, and then like give it to someone to fix for me, and be like, just fix this, fix it right, and then I don't have to worry about it going forward, and then I don't have to worry about keeping the glue, making sure my glue's right, having all those materials. I just have some tape, put some tape on it, done. So, Todd, good point. You're definitely much more likely to be able to do a permanent repair for hypalon on the river than with the polyurethane, but having all those materials, having the right conditions, those are, I just don't see it work that often. And you're probably a person who's good at doing repairs, Todd. There's a lot of people who just aren't good at it. You know what I mean? Like I think it takes a special skill set to be good at doing those repairs. You have to have kind of like those people are good at fixing cars, or you just have to. Some people are good at cooking, other people aren't. You got to have that. You got to have that sense to it. And, and it's not something you practice a lot. It's not like, I'm going to work on my patches until I know they're good. Yeah. Steve, any other thoughts on have you used the tear aid, Steve?
I've used the tear aid. Surprisingly effective.
Yeah.
I
remember that cat. It was just tearing for a whole season. There was a hole, and we put a piece of tear on. It was all bulging out, and I kept looking. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
It lasted like a whole season out there. I was blown away. I think the Sotar is way more than the wings, I believe. But you guys tell me if I'm wrong on that. And yeah, that's a good point, Sean. The wings rarely tear. And I'll say I've seen way more holes in hypalon boats than in polyurethane boats on the river. Like way more. Yeah. And most of the holes and Marty will say this, most of his holes have not been on the river for polyurethane. They've been
in and out of the truck.
In and out of the truck, getting to the river. Once you're on the river, the polyurethane boats rarely get holes in them. So
that's a good point. That's a good selling point.
Yeah.
Where I might have to learn to be more comfortable in a urethane boat just for that reason. Because now when you're I don't want to patch a boat. Like that sucks.
No. But Steve, just put tape on it. Just put the tape on it. Just buy and you can. The great thing about Terry is really expensive. What's the other stuff we're talking about? Not the Terry, the cheap stuff. Oh God, why am I forgetting the name of it? It's the stuff that they use on houses. Tyvek. The Tyvek tape, you can get a roll for like $10, a huge thick roll of it. And it's not quite as good. We did experiments one day. I don't know if it was on this show or Gear Garage. We did where Zach pumped him up a bunch. We did a show where Zach put a hole in a thwart and then we put different tape on it to see how it holds. And the duct tape was terrible.
Right.
I mean, the terraid was incredible when you had the right terraid for the right material. And the Tyvek was darn good.
Wow.
And so Zach's comment was he'd probably keep both for commercial. You'd have the Tyvek for huge repairs. If you had a huge hole, you can patch anything with that. And then you'd have the terraid, which is really solid. So I just after seeing Zach do that with it, I was like, I'm just gonna bring tape. And then I can just the other thing too is particularly on a day trip, all right, I got a hole, let's go over, dry it off, put the tape on, pump it up, let's go.
10 minutes.
Versus you're like, oh, we gotta let it. I mean,
10 minutes versus an hour. Yeah.
And then those on-road repairs that I've seen for lipo boats, people let them cure overnight. The ones I've seen that have been done well is we got to camp and they repaired it at camp, let it cure overnight. So.
No, and then if it doesn't go well, undoing the tape.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. You got to fix it. Oh, it's not working right. Okay.
You got to peel off all that old glue and the old patch, and that's another hour there. So, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna look into the Tyvek tape.
Yeah, who's Zach? Yeah, exactly. Yes. $3,500. I'm gonna say Craigslist, man.
Yeah,
Craigslist. I got my 14-foot Sotar for $900.
And then,
Steve, I don't know if I've told you this. Did I tell you this? It's only one tube. All the baffles are blown on it. So if I get air out of one tube, they are all gone. But I got the floor.
I don't think I think you should maybe get that fixed. But to rough track retreats there, yes, Craigslist or a used boat swap. Find one. But then also, man, get a second opinion because you can make a mistake, right? There's some bad 13-foot boats out there for sale that would probably be a headache for you. And I think getting a second opinion is good. There's a local guy here in Groveland who bought a Avon Ranger. I think it was the
the narrow 14s. Yeah,
they made for a while, fully with a trailer, frame, oars, whole thing for $4,000. And he called me beforehand and said, "Hey, is this a good deal?" And I was like, "If you don't buy it, I'm going to buy it." You got a really good deal on that. And there's people who don't know exactly what they're selling, so you can sometimes get a pretty good deal. But I would buy a used boat for that 13-foot.
Particularly, but for that much, then you're also want a frame for it. And so it gets expensive. You try to buy it new, it adds up quick. And the other thing too is you can keep it simple too. You don't have to do, if you're on a budget, just you can also buy a boat. And then Zach loves those little NRS frames, the drop-in frames. You just have one of those little drop-in frames that just for you to sit on and row with a seat. And then you just have a couple of dry bags and go backpacking style. And don't worry about bringing all this stuff initially. And you can slowly acquire things over time. And it's kind of nice. It's easier. It's a lot easier when you don't have all gear to haul everywhere. So wings weigh a bit more than Sotar. Oh, really? I didn't realize the wings were heavier than the Sotar. Huh, man. I gotta look that up. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the RMR and the Air Puma, you can get a good deal on the Air Pumas are great. The Super Puma, I think that's like a 12 or 13. That's a small boat. And the RMR boats, and I'll say that if you're on a real budget, that's the other thing too, is you can buy a PVC boat for inexpensive. It's just not going to last as long. And so you can get in for a lot less that way. And that is a good way to go. Oh, look, working on Steve emoji. Thanks, Gear Garage. Zach, you're listening in. Zach must be in the airport or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other thing too is outfitters at the end of the season, they'll get rid of boats sometimes too. And like some outfitters, you don't want to buy the boats from other outfitters. They get rid of them pretty regularly. So it just depends. But and then that's another good option. Yeah.
I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook, but there's a Facebook group for wooden boats, for dories, that there's a whole community of people, and every so often, they have all these little whatever posts and comments and whatnot. Every so often, people are selling their drift boats on there. They're making them or whatnot. I don't know if there's a similar thing for used rafts, like a place you could go where people are searching out of Craigslist is sort of challenging. But just to see if there's a place where you could, so some open, whatever, trading post, warehouse type marketplace within some online community would be a good place to look to.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Bruce, high sides are less than the Sotars and the Wings. It's because they're the Hypalon boats, and the Sotars and Wings are the polyurethane. So you got the polyurethane boats, which are probably considered the highest performance and the most expensive. And you got the Hypalon boats, which are like just the solid work material. And then you got the PVC. And very, very few outfitters use PVC boats. And I think there's a reason. And that's the Chinese, you're referring to as the Chinese plastic, is the PVC boats pretty much. Some do, but they, like Moravia, where they got a coating on it, or Air does, where they do the composting. The high sides are less than the Sotar the Wings, as are the NRS boats, and those are great boats. Those are solid boats. They work well, as you said, with their as Steve can attest to. They hold up well. It's if you want that performance thing, and you want to be cool. If you want to be cool, you buy the wing boat, because it's like, ooh, wing boat. Not very many people have those.
I have to buy my coolness. So that's why I would get a wing.
Oh yeah. Well, it depends where you're living too. Like if you're in Idaho, you're going to be cooler if you have a Moravia.
Oh yeah, I know.
In Oregon. If you're living in Oregon,
Sotar,
you show up with your Moravia, they're going to be like,
I know. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. There he goes. Yeah, glue probably went bad. Most likely, more often than not, when I've opened a repair kit, the glue isn't good. So,
hey, what we should talk about on another show, we were going to talk about on this one, are river guide qualities, but the repair thing, like being able to repair a boat or being able to fix a boat, that's a pretty nice skill to have. Like someone who came on my private trip and was like, yeah, man, I'm going to bring the repair gear and could take care of all those little problems, would be a high on my list of whatever people to include.
Yeah.
I'd rather have that than someone who is really good in the kitchen, I think.
Plays the guitar.
I don't know. All those things are good. We'll have to have a discussion. We'll have to prioritize who's bringing what. I'm bringing my my friends. I'm going to bring my airboat, my wing boat. That's all I've got.
There you go. Yeah, I forgot to do image. It's like a colon, then our name or something like that. Someone did up above. They can tell you. I think it's colon, then name. Hold on. I can look quick here. Yeah, colon, then like a dash, a lower dash, if that makes sense. So colon, like a dash along the bottom, and then capital ZACH. And I don't know, do you have to do a colon after it too, or 2 colons after? It looks like maybe a colon after. I'm not sure. Yeah, Blue Puma knows how to do it. I don't know. All right, where are we? Yep, Sean Tyvek, thanks for helping with that. Yeah, Justin Lee, welcome to the community. Thanks for being a supporter. Much appreciated.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm sure they do. Yeah.
Bob Volper, who ran Idaho River Journeys and Rogue River Journeys for a long time, would dismiss a guide who used duct tape on anything. Yeah, I agree, man. Duct tape is not my favorite either.
Would you rather clean glue off a bad glue job from a repair or duct tape that's been on a hole to prep it?
Probably the glue.
Really?
I don't know, man. That duct tape stuff, you got to use chemicals, so that gets like it's easier physically, but probably not as.
You got to use chemicals on the duct tape or on the glue?
On the duct tape.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think you can use a. Well, I don't know. I don't want to do either of them. The dried glue just seems a little bit less gummy and sticky and easier to get off and get back down to zero. But
I will say, yeah. But if the duct tape's on there, like you put the duct tape, like I go rafting on Saturday, I get a hole in my boat, I put some duct tape on it. Not that I use duct tape anymore.
Take it off when you get home.
I get home and I take it off right away, it's not going to be bad, right? It's if it sits there for a week, and it gets all hot and yeah. You can't find. Sorry, Justin. Yeah, I'm not.
Wow, we just had a transaction.
There you go. Wow, look at that. You guys got to talk offline and figure that out. That is awesome. Boat swap on. Oh, thwart attachment. Yeah, Nick, the Sotar did that, I think, to save cost because they don't like and replacing those little D-rings is a pain. But what's nice about it is you can adjust where your thwart sits, right? Do you understand what they're talking about? So Steve, like the Sotar's old ones had the four attachments with the and then they had them be originally their cam straps ends, and then they switched to the plastic thing, and those plastic things would loosen up, so you had to tie them off, and there was constant battle with those. It was like when they would always loosen up, but you got to tighten them down. Like, I mean, when I was doing shows, I remember I'd be stepping them down, tightening them down. It's something else you're always checking.
But I can see where grabbing that to put yourself back in the boat, that is the spot where you want to have like that upper.
Oh yeah, you can grab the little tail. You grab the little tail.
Yeah,
totally. But yeah, the three on the bottom also makes it sit hard on the floor. And it's hard to get your foot underneath it. It doesn't balance as well. I wasn't that big a fan of the three on the floor thing, but it is nice in one way is that you can put the thwart wherever you want it. Yeah. And that's a good point about being harder to get back into the boat. Oh, look at that. Zach's in Salt Lake City about to get on a plane. Happy to hear you're having a good time, Zach. There you go.
Is there a whole crowd around you in the airport looking over your shoulder watching it?
They're playing it up on the big on the screen instead of CNN or whatever they're normally doing up there. Yeah. All right. There we go. All right. So I think wow. There it is. Thanks, Sean. : name : Okay. Right. It shows up here. It's : for me, it's funny when they do it. It shows up differently than that. Yeah. Glue is harder to get off. Tape residue sucks, but easier than old glue, in my opinion. That was kind of mine. But, I mean, Steve, you sound like you've had other experiences. I think if you let if the tape sits on there long enough, it really
I just don't like that gumminess that the duct tape residue leaves behind. Like getting all of that off is constantly.
What about
wiping it with chemicals, with toluene, like using a chemical thing? I agree it's easier. I just don't. I think it's nastier.
Totally. Yeah. Okay. What's gaff tape?
I've heard that. It's like duct tape, but it's got some kind of different glue on it. We've started using that in a lot of different places.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to check out
more
gaff
expensive.
tape.
Gaffers tape.
Now, what about the terry? Does the terry leave a residue behind?
Yeah.
How hard is that to clean off?
Same thing as the duct tape, a little bit easier. But I've had to use chemicals. Like you have to.
Okay.
You can't grind it off or wire brush it off or whatever that rubber brush it off.
You ever just try to take like your hand and like kind of peel it off, like you like keep rubbing it until it kind of balls up, like use your thumb and it kind of like turns into like boogers and you kind of pick it off.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah. Yeah, but there's a residue that it leaves behind that still has to get. Well, you have to use chemicals at the end anyhow. They're solvent. It seems like.
Okay. You need to make the thwart cockeye. Oh, that's cool. So you can make it offset a little bit. Yeah. Everyone's showing Zach the love here. The near beer. Yeah. The display we see on the video. Oh, cool.
Well, this is.
Yeah, thanks, John. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Gaff tape.
Drum tech guy coming through. Whatever that's called, cross pollination of the industries there, bringing the music industry into the rafting world. And
there you go. Yeah,
good contribution.
Music at theater. So it sounds like you have a good plan for your raft. Then, are you now see where you can get a trailer?
Oh man, yeah, I'm gonna get a trailer.
Oh really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And will you have the spinny bar on the back?
Yes. Those seem like pretty easy decisions.
And a little hand winch thing on the front, so you can just
probably that sounds cool. That sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So with your 18, do you have a frame for that?
No.
So you just have an 18-foot raft with no thwarts.
With no frame.
No oars.
All I have is the rubber. I think that my nephew might have some old frame that he's been able to use it, and he's taken it a couple of times on different trips, so it's been on the water. But it's sort of waiting. Like I haven't retired yet, so I'm still building up towards that. But I definitely would get the same flat style frame that that Arda uses, where the boxes drop in. I would definitely get a break apart frame. That seems no reason to not do that. I'd probably get some modular things so that I could have maybe like a day frame, then sections that I would add for a longer trip. Something with a lot of flexibility in it. That's what I'm dreaming, but
like the NRS style where you can adjust it.
Yeah, maybe. It seems like those things are pretty simple and not that expensive to just get somebody to bend up some tubing and put it together.
So Steve, there are Zach Collier, Adam Crom, like and a bunch of so many people I know. I've been asking all people because I need to get a frame built up. I want to get one of those creek style frames. And I've been asking around, and everyone's like, "You find someone, let me know." Like if you find someone who can bend it, oh yeah, it's like, so if you know somebody who can do it for a reasonable cost, there's a line of people who want those types of frames built. Yeah. There's a bunch of people looking for them. Find some muffler person who's good at it, who will take one and build it. Yeah, there's a list. There's a list of people who are wanting them built.
Okay.
Definitely. So
all right, I'll get mine built and then I'll.
Yeah. So if you find someone, let me know. And if they want, we'll put a note in the show for them, and I'm sure they'll be contacted by a bunch of people because it's amazing. I keep every once in a while hey man, I'll just ask people in possibly oh, I really want one of those if I can get one. So it's tricky. I was almost thinking about trying to weasel an old one from Arda and just cut it down, one of those weird shaped ones, and just have someone cut it and then re-weld it back together to make it the right size, because it's hard to find them.
Okay, I'll let you know when we find them. We haven't had them made for a long time, which is another thing in their favor. Those frames have lasted.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're super.
Multiple generations of boats.
I feel like most of them have been run over by a vehicle at some point. Someone blocks a truck up on them or something like that. You're like, oh, it's a little bent, but it still works. So, Boatsmith 2022. I bet I could see Zach being there. Steve, are you thinking about going up to the Smith in, was it I think it's at President's Weekend. I think it's President's Weekend.
Well,
I will not be there.
that's what you call that. That's cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
I've always
Yeah,
wanted to go.
you have your new trailer and your new setup.
That's right near where wings are, right? I can pick up my wing.
Yes, exactly. You take your wing out, you take a maiden voyage. Wobar is the way to go. There we go. Here we go. So, Steve, maybe you can answer this. Where would you get a trailer in California?
The only place I know of that's building, there's a guy in Grants Pass. I don't know of one in California. I don't remember the name of it, but there was a guy in Grants Pass that was making them. And when we looked to have one made, whatever, a year ago, he was, backlogged by months. But I've seen some trailers. He's built really good ones. There was another one up in Roseburg, Oregon that we had built. I don't know of one in California, anybody that's built. It's hard to get anything made these days. We all know that. Yeah, I don't have any leads on that other than Southern Oregon.
There you go, Steve.
Yeah, that would be funny.
I think you should just run the 18 and that's it. And just like have a frame in the middle and have everyone just hop in like party boat. It just be like, all right, let's go.
My one-day South Fork trip in my 18-foot boat.
Did your 18-foot boat, the one that you got from Zach, does it have thwarts for it too? Is it have that vintage? Because there were certain years in there where they had thwarts with them, the 18s.
I have a ton of those thwarts. I don't know if that boat has those thwart attachments.
Ooh, but you could just glue some in
it. If you can find them. Like again, all those Avon repair parts are really, really hard to find. But there's places that'll make them, and the guys in Denver have done some modifications and fabrication for us on creating old Avon parts. So yeah, you can get it done. But I don't know why thwarts would be.
Because you could have like a 6 thwarted boat.
Yeah,
and have a frame on the back and take all your friends. You'd be like, oh yeah, everyone just come to my boat.
I don't have that many friends.
Well, that's a way to ensure you have. I guess you have some friends, but yeah. It's tough finding good frames for boats. Yeah. Row frame Gary all the way. Row frame Gary. Okay, I'm gonna look up row frame Gary and see if he's building what we're talking about. A lot of them do like the aluminum and they do other stuff like that, and it's not what I'm looking for. Yeah, Idaho's full of. Everyone's got a frame, and everyone's got it. Comes with I think there are more frames than boats, and more trailers than boats. Old man's roller.
That's a good idea.
Oh yeah, Andrew, that's a great idea. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And just roll it on, and
probably works a little bit better because it would roll down the trailer.
Yeah, that is like the old man's roller right there. That's how you save your back a little at the end when you can barely get that boat up there. You're like, oh, make it a little easier.
Yeah, or that with the roller bar.
So the combo. Oh yeah, the trailer, combo.
It's rolling. Yeah. That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Well, I have selling gaffer's tape too. Make sure that Zach gets a commission on all the sales that are going on.
Yeah, the gaffer tape sales. Yeah, the aluminum, and honestly, Todd, the aluminum frames I've seen, like some of them bent and stuff like that. They're not as solid as Steve, what are the ones you guys have made out of? Like, because you have the aluminum ones, and those ones are bent, right? You got a couple of those aluminum ones.
Yeah. No, the steel ones are made out of conduit. It has a letter. There's some letters.
Yeah. I'm forgetting the name of it too. I can see. Yeah, you're like I can almost see it, but yeah.
Yeah, some conduit that fits in. Most welding shop or muffler shops have the dies that you can bend it with. So if you can find a muffler guy that wants to do some side work, that's sort of how we've had those frames made in the past.
Nice. Yeah. Okay.
EMS. I think it's EMS conduit.
Yeah. EMS. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. EMS. Yeah. There we go. Side work. There's a couple out there. But like you said, everyone's so busy right now building stuff. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Or they don't have materials. So Sage Wisdom Crew again.
I think they were talking about the commenters, not you and me, Zach, Aaron.
Oh, thanks, Steve. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Those are some good trailers leads too.
Yeah. Cambridge Welding.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is all really
cool.
Yeah. There you go. Zach Close, EMT. You guys were on it. Man, it's so helpful. Derek Whiting. Man, all these great names. I can't believe we didn't ask you guys before. I've been trying to find it. I've been needing to get a frame built for a long time. I'll have to reach out to some of these people. Well, that's awesome. Thank you guys for all that information. That's fabulous. All right, so you got it covered now then, Steve?
No, we have the first. This is just the first of many conversations that we'll have to have in picking my boat, but it's a good start.
Yeah, I mean, then you can also ask the diameter of your tube that you want.
Oh, we have to go into that next.
I will, yeah, I mean, I don't know if we have time for this part of the conversation, but I'll say Jeff Hall got a Sotar, and he got this tubes a little bigger than normal, extra large tubes on his 14, but he put the extra size on the inside of it, so the external width was the same.
Yeah.
And I really like it. It's a little more stable and big volume, runs really nice. It has a little less space inside it, but it's still enough space to paddle it for paddle boats. And it's not like, if you're doing a trip, you're taking gear on it, you don't need that much space for your gear. And so I like the bigger tubed boat if you're going to go with the 14. Like the 15, I think it usually has a little bigger tube anyways. So, and they're more comfortable to sit in, because you sit a little higher.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Yep. Columbia, California. So stone's throw away from where I'm sitting right now. I'm going to have to look him up.
Do you know him?
No, there was another guy in Columbia, an old Arctic guide, Fred Dennis, who used to make frames out of Columbia, and I'm wondering if Derek used to be associated with him somehow.
Oh, you think he does aluminum? Yeah.
Fred was a steel guy.
Yeah, I think this guy might be the aluminum guy too, because I think there's an aluminum guy in there. Isn't that where you guys got those aluminum ones made?
What's that?
Nothing. I'm just reading this. I got distracted. But no, that's the thing is it's hard to find good people to do the frame repairs depending on where you live. And it's not like you can just like, I'll just mail my frame to you and then have you, it's like, it's a mess. And that's one of the big problems is like, okay, I'm going to drive to somewhere to get a frame. It's challenging. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Andrew. I appreciate the offer. I'll definitely check out the Cambridge frames. I would love to go check out Westwater this summer.
On the Westwater field trip.
I need to go see Westwater. That looks fantastic. We were looking at the video review the other day, and it looked amazing. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, this has been a great show. Are we ready to close it up here then, Steve?
Yeah. Thank you. I'll report back when I get a boat.
All right. Hey, you guys, want to thank you guys all for your comments today. And yeah, man, I learned a lot today, like gaff tape and all these people to check out for frames. This is fantastic. Steve, great having you on again. Fun.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, I think we need to rename this Steve and Aaron's.
I'm just the guest host when one of you is out of town, which is fun.
Yeah. Maybe we should have a different title though, like Steve and Aaron's Radical Video Review Show or something like that.
Competitor, a spinoff. Yeah.
Oh, it goes to spinoff. There we go. Yeah.
Season 2. We'll fade Zach out of the show and start
make his picture smaller and smaller and smaller. Yeah, you guys. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. If you haven't had a chance, please hit that like button. If you guys do have videos, just a warning: Zach's talking about going on the wind next week. So if we don't want to be watching wind footage the whole time, send us some other video footage. You just place to send it to me, Aaron at riversandoceans.com. Yeah. So you guys, everyone, take care. Have a good one. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.